This is the second part of the first lesson in which we talk about the German alphabet and pronunciation. If you haven't seen the first one yet, I recommend you to do so. So let's continue. Where was I again? Oh yeah. About the E, we've already covered everything important. The only thing maybe to mention would be how annoyed you will be in the beginning when you deal with the German AE and I and the English IE and EI. The J, again, very simple. I'll just give you a quick example. Sojasauce, jawohl, junger Jesus. Which of course means soy sauce, yes, your young Jesus. For the K, L, M, N, O and P, I will simply give you a few sentences to repeat, since pronouncing them is pretty straightforward. The only three specialties might be the PF, which we use a lot and might be new to you. It really just sounds what it looks like. Like Pferd, Apfel, Tropfen. The before mentioned monotone O instead of O, same as the L, which is spoken a little bit more muffled than in English. Try to notice the difference when I say love, or with German pronunciation, Lowe. Love, Lowe. Liebe, Leibi. Kleine Männer kloppen plüschige lose Kekse. Mein neuer Polizistfreund nimmt mich manchmal fest. Ohne Pappe kann man leichter planen. After almost all words that start with a Q comes an U and are pronounced as follows. Quark, Quadrat, Quiz. Some words that derive from French pronounce the Q more like a K, like pluck or clicker, but those are exceptions. We've arrived at the R and it gets interesting again. First of all, if you're a beginner and not Korean, you will probably have trouble pronouncing this letter. The Roman languages like Italian and Spanish form their R's in the very front of their mouths. In English, most of your tongue doesn't even touch your mouth when spelling it. In German, more of the action happens in the back, in your throat. Here's where you form the ch and the r. To show you the difference, I will simply show you what words would sound like when we do a hypothetical switcheroo of letters. Jedoch, jedor, bohren, bochen. But let's look at the R by itself for a second. As the first letter, it is pronounced normally. Reiben, Rinde, rudern. Inside or at the end of the word, it depends on the letter before it and its position. If before comes a consonant, it stays the same. Schreien, bringen. But have it come after a vowel and it changes a bit. It stops being as strong and sometimes even sounds like an A. For example, Erde or uralt. Bier, Temperatur, Leiter, Bohrinsel, Bär, Ungar. If we change up the words a bit, the R comes back all of a sudden. Biere, Temperaturen, Leiterei, Bohren, Bären, Ungarisch. The key of understanding what is happening here are the syllables. If we divide up the words into each syllable one by one, it becomes clear how the former rules simply apply now to each individual section. Does the R stand at the beginning or follow after a consonant, it sounds strong. Ungarisch. If it comes after a vowel and is positioned at the end of the syllable, the sound is soft. Bohrinsel. This separation will come instinctively to you. Trust me, you don't want me to get into the different syllables and their composition. It's a pain to learn and not that necessary. Next up we have the S, which can sound either Z, Sh, or S. Let's start with case S on position 1. Whenever a vowel follows the S sounds round. Soldat, Sabrina, senden. A consonant usually makes it sound sharp, for example, Scotch, Sphäre, Sven. The combination ST and SP sound a little bit different though. Instead of saying Sport and Stein, we say Sport and Stein. This phenomenon will be quite difficult for people that speak a Roman language in particular, because an S in the beginning is usually pronounced quite sharp. The SCH is something really common in the German language, and is the written equivalent to the SP or ST sound. Hey, schöne Schuhe. In general, it's the distinction between sh, s, and sh, one of the hardest things for non-Germans, and I recommend you to actually take a moment every now and then and go through just that, or have a friend hold up cards while you read them out loud. Words written with SH derive almost entirely from English, and usually people over here pronounce them sh. I will give you a little help so that you hear the difference. Sheriff over here is usually being pronounced sheriff. And now listen what happens when we switch out the beginning. Sheriff, 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 and serif. Tricky, but not impossible to manage. In the middle of the word, the ST and SP sound like the rest again, and we get beautiful words like must or Wespe. Since the S has so many different ways of sounding, it is also important to look at the last extra letter that we haven't talked about yet, the SZ. A while ago the SZ was more prevalent throughout German, but with the years its use has declined, and some people tend to rather write double S instead. I will show you the difference though, and why you should try to keep using the SZ. It mostly has to do with timing. A good example is the word Straße. The SZ in this case sounds sharper than a regular S, but more importantly, does it make the sound of the A longer. So just as we did before, can we set up an incline of the speed by using our known methods. Straße would be the longest, Straße is regular, Straße has a rolling sound because of the following E, and Straße would be the shortest because of the double consonant. Straße, 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 and Strasse. As you can see, do the double S and SZ have the same sharpness to it, but a different effect on the word speed-wise, and in my opinion should always be used distinctively. I will give you one more example to make it clear. Gosse means gutter. Let's pull it longer. Gosse, Gose, Gosse, and Gosse. By the way, there are no capital version of the SZ, since no word starts with it. I can tell you by now, that was the last major difficulty. The rest of the alphabet is pretty straightforward. T is always T, gives us words like Tee or Tod. Many times also used as a double consonant as in Mitte or Tablett. The vowel U can be combined into Oi, Oi or Ü, but otherwise always stays the same as in Känguru or Honolulu. V, alias Vogelv, is being used in two different quite random ways. Sometimes it sounds like an F, as in Vogel. That's why we call it Vogelv. But most of the times we use it like a V, as in Vokal. Having similar words such as Nerven and Level, or Violine and Vier, pronounced differently, makes simply learning and remembering how to say them the only way to deal with this letter. But whenever put at the end, it always sounds like an F. That never changes. Motiv, Octave. V is always V. The only thing to say about this letter would be maybe that the only word that I can think of with two consecutive V's would be Struwwelpeter, which is the title of a famous book of nursery rhymes that was published in 1845. Today this term is being used for people with messy hair. Their haircut then looks struwwelig. Other great words with V are Wanst, Wischiwaschi, and Weihnachten, of course. The X always gives the distinct KS sound. X. Axt, Explosion, and Xylophone should be enough to show you how to do the pronunciation. The Y doesn't really have its own sound. When put at the beginning of the word, it always sounds like an E. Yacht, Yeti. On other positions, it depends on whether the word derived from English, like handy or rugby. In that case, it again sounds like a regular E. If that is not the case, it is simply being pronounced like an Ü, as in cylinder or Zypern. The final letter that we need to talk about fortunately does not give us any trouble. It should always sound like a sharp S with a slight TZ undertone. Zebra, Zentrum, and Pizza should make clear how to pronounce it. Often in combination does the Z come with T. In that case, as we had already talked about, does the vowel before shorten, and the desired sound should resemble your reaction after somebody is treating you like a jerk. Z. Examples would be Sitzen, Blitzkrieg, and Glatze. And that was it. You can now read German after just a couple of minutes of watching a video. I just strongly recommend you, as you begin with these lessons, to rather speak slowly but correct. The speed will come with practice, but things that you teach yourself wrong or rightish in the beginning will be very hard to get rid of later and alter anything that follows. Other than that, good job, buddy. Don't forget to download the smart sheet to this episode down below and to check out the exercise that we posted to train your pronunciation. Subscribe, follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated, if you like. I'm Villalobos, and this is ABC Squared. Hey! Nein, das war blöd. Das war blöd. Was machen wir hier?
Warte, Leute, einmal mit einer richtig hohen Stimme, bitte.
Wenn du willst. And that was it. You can now read German after just a couple of minutes of watching a video. Bitte schön, Mathilde.
Das ist so gut.
Danke.